Shalom. Our Torah portion for this week is Behalotecha. And I want to draw your attention to a verse in Hebrew in chapter 9 of the book of Numbers, chapter 9, verse 14. Let's see what it says in the Hebrew. Chukah achat yihyeh lechem velager ul ezrach haaretz. There shall be one law for you, whether stranger or citizen of the country. That's a remarkable statement. In almost every society, every ancient society, the stranger, the alien living in that society would be at a legal disadvantage, but not in Israelite society. There should be one law, the Torah tells us, for Jew and non-Jew alike, even if the Jews happen to be in the majority. What was the source of this respect and sense of obligation to the non-Jew? Where did it come from? It may have developed because of Moses' very warm and respectful interaction with his non-Jewish father-in-law, Jethro. Incidentally, Jethro goes by a number of names. Sometimes in the Bible, people have more than one name. Jethro is known as Jethro and Yeter and Chovav and Re'ul and Keni. According to the Midrash, he's known as by as many as 7 names, which indicates to me that Jethro, I'm going to call him Jethro, represents not just one person, but perhaps the non-Jewish world in its entirety. And what do we know about Jethro? We know that an entire weekly Sedra, is named after him in the book of Exodus. Jethro helps Moses in the book of Exodus develop a judicial system. It takes a great burden off of Moses' shoulders, and it ensures that justice can be administered for all of the people in Israel. This is something. This is something that Jethro contributed to the Jewish people. And along the way, Jethro seems to have learned a great deal about God. He becomes a monotheist. He understands that there's one God who cares about the way people treat each other. So there's this wonderful interchange. And I want to, again, bring your attention to a passage a little further on in this week's Torah portion. Let's take a look at chapter 10, verse 29. Moses said to Chovav, son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, and of course we know him also as Jethro, we are setting out for the place of which the Eternal has said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will be generous with you. For the Eternal has promised to be generous to Israel. Jethro says, I will not go, he replied to him, but will return to my native land. He said, that would be Moses speaking here, do not leave us, inasmuch as you know where we should camp in the wilderness and can be our guide. And I like what it says here in the Hebrew. It says, literally, you will be our eyes. So if you come with us, we will extend to you the same bounty that the Eternal grants us. And so we see after this the long duration of this relationship between Moses and Jethro, that they go on their own ways. Moses to Eretz Yisrael and Jethro back to the land of Midian. But it had been such a fruitful interchange that we still talk about it. Now, in a couple of weeks, we will be reading from from Sedra Balak. And in it, we read the following words. Hen am levadad yishkon, uvagoyim lo yit chashav. There is a people that dwells apart, not reckoned among the nations. Now, these words were uttered by another non-Jewish sage by the name of Balaam, who was paid by King Balak of the king of Moab to curse the Jews. Every time he goes to curse them, only a blessing comes out of his mouth. But here he predicts that the Jews will live apart and they will not be thought about very much or reckoned by the non-Jewish world. Now, we have two visions here of how Jews and non-Jews should interact with each other. Balaam suggests that Jews should be over there and Gentiles over here. In the Jethro-Moses interaction, there is this sense that there should be interaction. We should learn from each other. We shouldn't be out to assimilate each other. You remember in the end, Jethro says, no, I need to be a Midianite. I need to go back to my people. And Moses, as much as he really wants his father-in-law to stay with him, he understands and he has a destiny as a Jew. But they're not frightened of coming together and learning from each other in a respectful way. And then we have Balaam's idea of which smacks of what we would call ghettoization, Jews over here and Gentiles over there. To tell you the truth, I so much favor the Jethro-Moses model. We shouldn't be out to assimilate each other, to make us all one, but we should never, ever be frightened of learning from each other. And we've seen this model of remaining Jewish and true to our own theology, our own culture, and yet learning so much from the non-Jewish people. We see this with Philo of Alexandria 2,000 years ago. He was the first theologian. He was a proud Jew who knew his Judaism, living in the city of Alexandria in the country of Egypt, but also steeped in Greek philosophy. And he analyzed Jewish texts using the methodology of the Greeks. We see Maimonides 12 centuries later, who was not at all frightened of reading Aristotle and enjoying Aristotle. We see Isaac Luria, who one of the founders of Kabbalah, certainly being very acquainted with Neoplatonic philosophy, remaining very Jewish, but learning from a non-Jewish source. The world has learned a great deal from the Jewish people, and the Jewish people has learned a great deal from their non-Jewish neighbors. This brings to mind the words of Ben Zoma in the Talmud, who said, Mi chacham, who is wise? Halomed mikol adam. The one who is wise is the one who learns from everyone. Well, I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion and come to your own conclusions. Shabbat Shalom.
أبا الشمعون كن بعوني لا دعيتك عينني أبا الشمعون كن بعوني